Private members' business, notice number 3, motion relating to terrorism.
Member for Dawson.
I move the motion relating to terrorism in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper. Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. And this motion concerns the threat of violent extremism, particularly in the form of radical Islam, in Australia, a threat that has been borne out in this country. This is not violence for the sake of violence, it's violence driven by an extreme ideology, a jihadist ideology that does not accept the Australian way of life. Now, the ideology of Islamism despises our freedom, hates democracy and rejects our values, Australian values, which are very clearly defined. They are no state secret. When someone applies for provisional, permanent or some temporary visas, applicants must sign a statement that they have read and understood about the following Australian values: respect for freedom and dignity of the individual, freedom of religion, commitment to the rule of law, parliamentary democracy, equality of men and women, and a spirit of egalitarianism that embraces things like mutual respect, tolerance, fair play, and compassion for those in need and pursuit of the public good. These are the values that new citizens and new entrants to Australia sign up to. But not all citizens, or indeed their children, agree with these values in practice. In practice, some people hate these values. Those people can be found in Paris, those people can be found in Europe, they can be found in the Middle East, and sadly they can be found in Australia. We would be kidding ourselves to think everyone in this country subscribes to our common set of values, and we would just be as foolish to think that there are not jihadists in this country who wish to do us harm because of who we are and the values that we hold dear as a nation. We have witnessed the violent extremism inherent in radical Islam in this country. We have witnessed the attack on police officers at the Endeavour Hills police station last year by a person who brandished an Islamic State flag while dressed in military gear in a photo posted to social media, where he also attacked police and security forces in this country or vilified them online. We witnessed the siege at Martin Place in Sydney, where 2 Australians were killed by a man who wanted police to bring him an Islamic State flag, a man who was a self-styled imam with thousands of Facebook followers. We witnessed the murder of Curtis Cheng at the Parramatta police station by a man who repeatedly chanted Allahu Akbar after the killing. And we have seen a significant number of Australian citizens recruited by Islamic State, hundreds in fact, that have left this country to go over and fight for that terrorist organisation. Now, the Australian police forces and security services have done a magnificent job combating radical Islamic terror plots, not just in their handling of the examples I listed, but also in the prevention of others that have not gone ahead. Numerous acts of terror have been prevented through diligent police efforts and efforts of security services, including the attempt by the Sydney Five to commit acts of terrorism in Sydney in 2005. The Benbrika Group's planned bombing of various sporting events in 2005 and 2006 was diverted, as well as the plot to assassinate former Prime Minister John Howard that Benbrika Group come up with. There was also a plot to storm the Holsworthy Barracks in Sydney in 2009, again foiled by security and police efforts. Now, the disturbing thing about these foiled jihadist terror plots and the ones that were actually enacted is knowing that people walk amongst us who are both willing and able to commit these atrocities. Many of the people who hate Australia, Australian people and Australian values, well, they're not forced to live here. Some have dual citizenship and can just as easily go and live in another country. Others have the ability to gain citizenship of another country because their parents came to this country, often under the guise of seeking asylum or something like that. And I would acknowledge the message the Prime Minister gave to those people when he said, in his response to the terrorism incident in Parramatta, that it was not compulsory to live in Australia, and if one finds Australian values unpalatable, then there's a big wide world out there and people have got freedom of movement, and they should exercise it. The government is taking the issue a step further with a bill soon to go to the vote in the Senate for stripping citizenship from dual citizens who joined with foreign fighters such as Islamic State. And I note that Labor is talking about now opposing that, and that's concerning. I believe the measure should go further than that. We should strip citizenship from those that have the ability to become citizens of another country. when they join foreign fighters or threaten this country and its people with terrorism. It would be a fair assumption that if someone truly hated this country and everything it stood for, they would leave if they could, and they should leave. I say goodbye to them, good riddance, and don't let the customs gate hit you on the way out.
Is there a seconder for the motion?